Morning, folks. Travis. It's Brian here, Tuesday, May 27, 2025. This is a remake of a video I did last night, and it took me a long time to splice all the pieces together. But there was some sort of interference with it, so I couldn't load it, so I'm going to do it again. I want to go back to the book of Luke, as I often do, because I think there is it tells us of the soon-to-be celestial and earth-changing events that we're about to bear witness to, I think. So before I get heavy into it, I want to concentrate on Luke chapter 21, verses 25, 26, 27. Before I get into it, let's just quickly go through these three verses. Verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress among the nations with perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the seas and changing tides. It continues in verse 26, and it says, men's hearts failing them from fear, from looking upon that which is coming to the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then in verse 27, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, what I want to look at is the time spacing between each one of those verses. The amount of time between verse 25 and 26 and 26 and 27 is what I want to concentrate on. And how to interpret these verses. So the interpretation and the timing between these events. So I'm going to go to the middle verse. People will faint from fear, terror, apprehensiveness on what is coming to the earth, or what is about to fall upon us. For the heavenly bodies will be shaken, which to me indicates that we're going to have some sort of advance notification of what is about to happen. People will be overcome with anxiety and fear due to these impending events, apprehensive of what is coming, meaning we will know ahead of time. At some point, it is going to be revealed to us what this means. For the heavenly bodies will be shaken. So the heavenly bodies, and they also mention the sun, the moon, and the stars. So he's not mentioning something like divine. He is mentioning the bodies in the sky that we can see, the sun, the stars, the moon. Disruptive, or to put them out of their place because of the approach of the binary system coming in. At the very least, one of its bodies, which this time around would be wormwood, would it not? What are the stars falling from heavens? This is a little bit separate. So they were given visions. They did not thoroughly understand everything they saw. So they can only describe it as stars falling from heavens or asteroid impacts preceding the incoming binary system. Going back to verse 25. So as the system nears us, its gravitational effect on the planets, including Earth, causing the Earth wobble effect, oceans displacements, sloshing back and forth, putting the nations into anguish and perplexity and confounded. They don't know what's happening. They don't understand what's happening. Bewildered by the roaring and the tossing of the seas and the tides not acting as they should, receding farther back and then coming in, washing over the lands. Then the world will realize something is happening. Then it carries into verse 26. So the question is, what's the time in between verse 25 in 26. In 25, we get a pretty damn good idea of shaking that, hey, something is seriously wrong with our planet. Then we're going to realize what that is in verse 26. Now, when I read a verse, even though it might be a short paragraph, I can read it 100 times. Because there can be different definitions, understandings. Like, as for those things coming upon the earth, there's a difference between the earth and the world. The world and we, the people, and the earth where we live. As for those things coming upon the world, could also be the realization that tribulation is about to commence and that revelation is real. But the verse ends by saying that powers of the heavens will be shaken. And again, what will shake the heavens? Will it be a natural event of the crossing? Remember, this verse is preceded by the description of the roaring and the tossing of the seas. Now again in verse 27, at that time they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud of power and great glory. At that time has different meanings, including soon after or before long. So what is the length of time of soon after? Verse 26. So this is what I'm thinking about, is the time intervals in between each verse. Now, men's hearts failing them from a state of extreme terror, people's hearts are overwhelmed that they fear as if they are going to die. Is it the reactions of people seeing the horrors of tribulation? I don't think so, because those horrors of the tribulations are the great tribulation. You see, when people realize or they hear of the end times, because of all the events happening, the global events, right? They hear of the end times and they want to know, they're curious. Most don't have a Bible, so they'll go to the internet and they hear about the book of Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible, and that's all they are going to read, not realizing that there's there's a lot of additional important information way before then in all the other books. Isaiah and Mark and Luke and Matthew and Daniel and all the rest of the boys. They don't know about that. You have to immerse yourself in the very, very beginning before you get to the very end. Before you get to page 1166, the end of Revelation. See, these are all the signs that he has given us before we get hard and heavy into Revelation. When they sat around Jesus below the olive tree and they asked us, what are the signs? And he's told us that these are the beginnings, not the end. It's the beginnings, the sorrows, the earth pangs. And he says, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. There's always been wars, but now there's a whole lot more rumors of the wars right now, currently. And he continues to say that nations will rise against nations, and kingdoms which are forming alliances will rise against other kingdoms. And there shall be great earthquakes in one place after another, and another and another in diverse places. So too at the same time the pestilence and the famines. The pestilence and the famines because of all the preceding things, the wars and the earthquakes and the changing weather. Did I go too far? So going back to the book of Luke, it's the interpretation of the verses. A verse can have more than one meaning, but it keeps on referencing the earth changes. It tells us how we will be in anguish and perplexity and fear and horrors and terrors at the things that we will be seeing. So when you look at the state of the world right now and seeing how close we are about to go into tribulation, at the same time, when they announced the discovery of the system planet coming in, and the things that's happening to our planet right now and our protective magnetic field, and all the grid failures, and the communication failures, and the ATC, air traffic control failures, and the radar failures, and one after another and another. And as I surmise, we are now slowly at the beginning of developing a multipolar field with weak zones here and there, causing all these problems and issues because Sal is getting closer. And that's what causes verse 25. The oceans sloshing back and forth. You say they knew that in 1983 when they formally announced the location of planet you-know-what. And they realized the implications, the gravitational effect. That's why they came up with the cover story, Man-Made Global Warming, headed by Al Gore and John Kerry. People think they're idiots pushing this nonsense. No, the people who think they're idiots themselves because those two are simply actors put in place to describe. So they say what's going to happen, but they say, well, it's going to be man-made global warming, sea level rise and all that. They're describing through the false narrative Luke chapter 21, verse 25. What they have to conceal and hide is verse 26. Because they cannot handle the population finally realizing it as it begins to manifest in the skies above. The approach of the binary system and its companions. Which is what causes the great earthquakes, one after another and another in diverse places. So this is what I wanted to get off my chest last night. And to me, as an observer, not that kind of observer. I got nothing to do with him. A watchman. Every single day. First thing I do when I get up in the morning, it doesn't matter if there's an earth catastrophe happening. I have to make my coffee first. Then I get into it. And the earth is getting into it. The earth is responding. Just before I started this video, I'm checking the news on the internet. And something really stupid. Hang on, let me show you the cover page. On one hand, I couldn't believe this when I saw it. On the other hand, I expect it. And this is what I'm telling you. Look at the headline. Earth's tides at risk. NASA moon missions could alter Earth's tides. You believe that nonsense? So you're going to continue to see these stories on the internet. Okay. They are telling you what is going to happen, but they have to come up with the stupidity, nonsense excuses. Okay, they're telling you what's going to be happening. It's just that, like way back in 42 years ago when they came up with the man-made global warming narrative, and they said there's going to be sea level rise and all that, and they had to come up with the cover story, right? Man-made global warming, blah, blah, blah. You're going to see more of it. You're going to see more of the earth changes. And the signs, both wonderful and terrifying, from the heavens above. That which they do not want us to see. And speaking of 42 years ago, 1983, when they made those announcements, that is when they also turned on the internet. And as I said during my recent video, the only way that we can communicate with each other now, phones, the web, internet, all of that, seek out information, pass it along, until